Thank you. And we talked earlier about where we are with getting the California train out of the ditch, so to speak, and how much it's going to take to finish that, to get a credible segment of it actually operating. That's going to be a challenge for additional administrations, probably.
Right.
Because we're talking to 20, I think our latest is up to 2025. Do they, do you know, are they looking at like an incremental, like initially it was Bakersfield to Fresno, and then they've expanded it up towards San Jose. Are they going to open the first part with that first?
The plan right now is from Bakersfield to Merced, which is under construction, I might add. And the High-Speed Rail Authority has come together with the governor's support, and much of Northern California delegations support as well, to connect San Jose and Merced.
But is it a phased opening, so they do the southern part first, the initial one they were going to do, and then take that second into the San Jose area?
What the High-Speed Rail Authority would like to do, and they're working with the governor's office, is to get those first two segments complete. These trains could go at 240 miles an hour. And then this year, or in the next legislative calendar, get the commitment from Cap and Trade to then connect San Jose to Merced. That would be the funding source that would then connect San Jose to Merced, and you would then have an operating segment from San Francisco to Bakersfield.
Right. Well, if the administrator has a plan that has been submitted by California for that, or you're working with them, it'd be nice to put that in the record. I just like to put things in the record because people say things, they set up a time frame, and then that changes, but at least we can see what was promised, where we should be. You need milestones.
Certainly.
If you could accommodate us. And we're going to leave the record open for submissions and additional questions. I had invited Jim, the members of the committee, to come down to Miami, see what we're doing. We have a higher speed. It's not as fast as California. Private sector, pretty much private sector financed project. And the intermodal center we're building, like in Orlando at our airport, $1.4 billion to accommodate. The terminal in Miami under construction is $2 billion. It's under construction, and the three terminals in South Florida are all under construction, and the cars on their way. So we may see something in higher speed rail, but it certainly isn't high-speed rail. I want to correct the record, too, on the Florida project. Mr. Hart and several others mentioned the administrator. I was very intently involved in trying to make that a success. Secretary LaHood got it up to $2.4 billion of a $2.7 billion cost project. It was going to go 84 miles from Orlando Airport to downtown Tampa. We unfortunately reached an impasse. Governor Scott just came on board, and people don't know this, but the governor got back the financials, and the part from the Orlando airport to the Disney tourist area is a great, it could pay for itself. The rest was a dog, because they don't have a fixed system to connect into Tampa. I tried to divide the project up, phase it, let's do what's successful, we could come back. Some folks on the other side of the state and aisle, and the administration said all or none. And the governor was not willing to take on the long-term burden. It also was sort of a bait-and-switch project, because the train that they were looking at was it was 84 miles. It went 84 miles in 1 hour, which is 84 miles per hour average speed. That's not high-speed rail. You can right now get on an Amtrak train, which goes from the Orlando station over to the Tampa station, and it takes about 20 minutes longer than that. So it wasn't much for $2.7 billion, and then going into Hawk, there's more to the story that I thought should be. I just put that in the record there. So again, I want to support it. We've got some opportunity for public-private partnership. Mr. Hart, Mr. Feigenbaum, said that those are avenues for success. Mr. Coos, most of your project, though, I think is yours a state, what do you call it, the state-supported route, or totally Amtrak?
We have 7 state-supported trains a day and 1 long-haul route, the Texas Eagle.
The long-haul route is Amtrak. The money for the investment,
Amtrak operates the state routes, but they're state-supported financially.
but
yes.
a lot of your money came from federal for the improvements. And
That's
you
correct.
cited Tiger, too, which, again, I'm citing public-private partnership, predominantly private for huge investments. So I see that, and I'm even happy when it doesn't have to come out of taxpayer dollars, just informationally. Huge opportunities for employment. We should have high-speed rail and higher-speed rail across the country. It's just, to me, I think, again, there's so many savings. We could get more cars off the truck and trucks which tear up the highway with better rail systems. But 22,000 miles of our rail is privately owned over which Amtrak runs. Isn't that right, Ms. Feinberg? Amtrak only owns about 600 miles of rail line.
I don't know the exact number, but
Yeah.
that sounds right.
But, and part of that, almost all of that is privately owned, and there are questions about paying for capital improvements for the private sector. We've tried to provide tax incentives and some assistance for capital improvements that are necessary to upgrade those routes. We also need to look at incentives, and this is something we might work on, Ms. Feinberg, to get the private sector involved in carrying passengers, which they did years ago and then got out of the business. But now rail is under the most pressure it's ever been under. They're down in transporting coal and oil and all kinds of goods, and it may be an opportunity for them to get in, like FEC, Florida East Coast, which is doing the project in Florida, but with some incentives.
Would the gentleman yield?
Yes.
To your point, in the late 50s, late 1950s, with different technologies, of course, when Santa Fe was in the passenger business,
Yes.
Before Burlington Northern and Southern Pacific, but many of the trains around the country ran at 99 miles an hour, and they had very nice service. And they did that with technologies that was vintage 40s and 50s, obviously. But they had an interest. They were making a profit out of it at the time. And although that changed, the numbers as air jet travel came in, and that began to change their economic model. But the fact is that with even the existing, and we do pay the railroads additional money for on-time performance, I don't think it's much of an incentive for them. And of course,
But there are incentives, and I'll show you one right here, Mr. Costa. Remember I told you about Florida East Coast Railroad, now back in getting in the passenger business. And they're building this is actually under construction, 3 towers, $2 billion. This is just one station in Miami, a commercial center. Then above the commercial center in the tower, a hotel, then a professional building, then 2 more towers looking down the street. This is in downtown Miami, 400 units apiece of living. This is how it's going to look. Look at isn't that incredible? And it wraps around the existing Metro Rail and the downtown People Mover. They're bringing high-speed rail in with another line. And then to get to the airport from that site will be 12 minutes. And you can also, for the first time, we'll have our commuter rail tri into that station. And you know how much federal money is in it?
Yeah. You have your interconnectivity there. Well, I mean, you know, the stations have been money generators in France and in Japan, hotels, convention centers, shopping centers, the whole. So, I mean, this model has been used in other parts of the world, and it's successfully.
I've done a small commuter rail in Central Florida, just a small leg. We have $2 billion either underway or on the planning boards, and they finished almost $1 billion in transit-oriented development. So there's potential, but I think we have to incentivize the private sector and partner with them. If we took that $10 billion and put it in one leg, either California or New York or someplace, and partnered and doubled, you can, there's lots of ways to extrapolate the money and maximize its potential.
Well, I agree.
We could have, my hope was about this time, be cutting a ribbon somewhere, but right now we're, as we say, lagging behind. The title of this hearing is the state of high-speed rail in the U.S.
You're correct, but we are in negotiations and conversations with the private sector in California for that partnership, and there's a lot of interest.
Well, we'll get there, and maybe we can do some roundtables, and we're getting towards the end of this session. Did you want to say something, Mr. Coos?
Specifically,
Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, in our corridor, I think one of the benefits of the public infrastructure on the Chicago-St. Louis corridor, it does allow freight traffic and passenger rail traffic to work more efficiently together, and I think that's a noble goal. It makes the railroads more profitable.
Absolutely.
And it makes Amtrak work much better. And if there's a way, my experience has been if you can go to a freight rail company and show them a way that they can run profitable passenger rail on the line, they'd probably be interested. Currently, I don't think they are.
Ms. Duckworth?
Just wanted to, again, thank you for this and urge you to continue your leadership on this issue, and let's talk about this some more.
Good, and we'll maybe another roundtable before the end of this session, and then we'll see how everything sort of evolves. I recommend to you, you recommended your book. I'm finishing one on John Quincy Adams. Absolutely astounding book. I love biographies. I've read John Adams by David McCullough, but this is the second part. And learning right now that John Quincy Adams, when he ran for president, he was fairly conservative, but he felt that infrastructure was so important to the country. It was he went beyond that. And then it was pitted against Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson wanted absolutely bare bones federal government, minimal, and that was part of this is 1820s, and their argument over infrastructure. And the cute thing is reading John Quincy Adams' defense was the founding fathers intended this because George Washington, he built the canals, the first post roads. So his justification was the founding fathers did this to expand the potential of the nation, and he brought it back to that. But again, reading the commentary and debate of the 1820s, things haven't changed too much. Anything else, Mr. Costa?
No, I just want to thank.
We do have additional,
Thank all
fairly good while here, but we do have additional questions we're going to be submitting, I think, for the witnesses. So we won't belabor this anymore, but it was a good catch-up kind of session. And I think a lot of folks, it's nice to see some of the young members, too, interested in this. Because as I said, if it's 30 years in the Northeast Corridor, I won't be seeing it. But this young lady will. I just scoped her age, and she's raring to go, and we'll see it complete. But thank the witnesses again, thank my colleagues, and there being no further business before the subcommittee, this hearing is adjourned. Thank you.